Jonathan. Now off to Constantine and Micah in Asia.
The Earth's axis was shifted 10 centimeters and the day was shortened by 1.6 microseconds. Structural engineers say that though there is still widespread devastation, Japan was very well prepared for the eventuality of such catastrophe. Many buildings in Japan are built to withstand earthquakes, and large amounts of buildings were spared because of organization and preparedness. In addition to the earthquake, tsunami damage continues to ravage the country's coastal towns, and many remain flooded days after the 33-foot wave struck Japan. Recovery efforts continue in Tsu and Daiichi, Japan, and multiple countries have signed on to help with the recovery efforts.
In the northern part of Iraq, near Baghdad, a bomb was planted under an oil pipeline which prevented the flow of thousands of barrels of oil. The pipeline in need of a prominence pumps around 500,000 barrels of crude oil every day, and it will take several days to complete the repairs so that it can resume pumping oil. Last month, gunmen attacked Iraq's largest oil refinery, killing 4 workers and strapping 10 bombs around a production unit. Authorities said it will take years to get the facility north of Baghdad up and running again.
In addition to the devastation caused by the earthquakes and tsunami, concerns are rising regarding the stability of a nuclear reactor facility. The power plant in question is the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power facility in northern Japan. The nuclear reactors at Fukushima Daiichi usually run by the intake, evaporation, recombination, and recycling of seawater. Seawater is also used to cool the reactors and prevent a nuclear meltdown. Following the tsunami, the pump used to cool the 4 nuclear reactors failed, and the backup pump did not activate, causing fuel rods in reactors 1 and 3 to melt. This caused reactor 1 to explode twice, leaving no separation between the still active reactor and the air and sea surrounding it. 50 engineers are currently at the plant, keeping it from a nuclear meltdown, though one is still expected. The exclusion zone around the facility is currently set at 20 kilometers.
Thank you, Constantine and Micah. Now off to Esther in Africa.
Protests occurred between the news powers and the group of ex-President Laurent Gbagbo in the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire, a country in West Africa. This conflict could lead the country to rekindle the civil war, and the threat to this town includes water sources and its supplies to the entire population. It's that have already displaced about 500,000 people from their homes. The number is increasing rapidly, but IOM, International Organization for Migration, is now the only aid agency that is working to help more needy people. The finding has also led to about 8,000 people crossing the border with Liberia in these recent days. The assistants in the speech at the National Meeting on Nutrition and Food Security affirmed that malnutrition remains the most important problem that has confronted the country's government. More than 300,000 children under 5 years old suffer chronic malnutrition. Sierra Leone has the highest infant mortality rate, the highest in the world, and the children account for approximately 1/3 of the population. The government has also introduced school programs to help improve the nutritional status of the children, but the government's effort has not yet had a significant impact. Soldiers loyal to the Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi have prevented some 30,000 foreign workers out of the country towards Tunisia and forced many to return to work in the capital, Tripoli. Migrant workers were being captured and detained in immigration buildings near the border with Tunisia last week. The revolution, which has turned into a civil war, has no appearance to the Gaddafi regime the success military expect. The air support used to attack the rebels operatives in the lands controlled by the rebels has been the main advances to the regime.
Thank you, Esther. Now off to Alejandro on the coast of Oman.
On February 22, 2011, 4 American people, including a couple from Seattle, were killed aboard their own yacht by Somali pirates while cruising along the coast of Oman. The couple was identified as Phyllis McKay and Robert Riggle, and announced that this event marked the first time that U.S. hostages were killed by pirates. The U.S. Navy boarded the yacht, where 13 Somali pirates confronted them. 2 out of 13 pirates were killed, although their deaths were unknown. Minutes before the hostages were killed, a Somali pirate named Abdullahi Muhammad said that if the U.S. attacked the yacht, the hostages were the first to go. Gibbon Brooks, head of the Dryad Intelligence, seemed to be confused when he said, "We have heard threats against the lives of Americans before, but it strikes me as very unusual as to why they would kill hostages outright." The two couples were a part of a yacht club that sailed around the world. The yacht was attacked by these drug boats, which eventually became their last voyage.
Milk wars. There is a health win for Australians as the supermarket giants continue to fight for the control of the fresh milk market. Economist Stephen King told the Senate that milk sales were set to rise since the supermarket giants cut the price to $1 a litre. Milk is now cheaper than soft drink, juice and water, and cheaper than it was a decade ago. Coles and Woolworths have cut prices on milk by as much as 33%. There may be industry problems with milk discounting, but from a nutrition perspective it may be a net positive outcome. Danielle Gallagher said there needed to be incentives for shoppers to choose milk over soft drink. The fabric, possibly a lot of rural towns in Australia, is significantly undermined if the major employer is no longer there, Grocery Council Chief Kate Carnell said. Ms. Carnell said milk processors were weathering a perfect storm, created by the high Australian dollar and the supermarket discounting. The long-term outcome of this has got to be negative for the processing industry, but also for the farming industry. Australia urged to help halt Mekong Dam. A $3.5 billion hydroelectricity power project on the Mekong River, Vietnam, is trying to be halted by environmental groups. They are seeking Australia's help because concerns have been raised about the dam's impact on the biodiversity of the river and the 40 million people who depend on it. The United States calls for development to be deferred for 10 years to allow further studies on environmental impact. Australia should be applying more pressure on the Mekong River Commission to make sure that the four countries take a precautionary approach to the dams and that they are fully informed and aware of the impacts that the dams will cause. Anne Trandon said, "Dams are definitely going to affect the biodiversity. That's one thing. It's very clear and very well proven." A climatologist, Andon Snivdogs from Chulalongkorn University, said, "Reduced freshwater flows into the Mekong Delta in Vietnam would lead to greater saltwater intrusion into agricultural soils, damaging rice output from the delta, the rice bowl of the country." Canterbury rugby insiders were gutted yesterday after confirmation Christchurch has lost 7 Rugby World Cup matches. It's very sad that we're not going to be able to take part in a tournament we had been so looking forward to and have been closely involved with. The World Cup would have been a marvellous celebration of New Zealand, of Canterbury and of rugby, and you just feel robbed to lose the matches. Just as many people who live here felt robbed about the loss of their homes, their families, or their jobs. It's just the inevitable aftermath of the earthquake. I was probably more optimistic than some that we would be able to take our place in the tournament and that Christchurch would enjoy it and benefit from it. So I feel extraordinarily sad that we are not a part of it, Rach said. The games would have been a great boost for New Zealand and its damaged economy after the devastating earthquake. I also know of a couple of big screens going up at places like the Hornsberry's Working Men's Club, and so people can watch and still be a part of it even though we are not getting games in Christchurch. Taylor was pleased to hear there may be some assistance for Christchurch-based fans with tickets to the 2 quarterfinals scheduled for the city to travel and attend those matches in Auckland. McCormick said England, who had been due to play 2 pool matches in Christchurch, are a side that always wants nothing except for 5-star plus hotel accommodation. But some of the lesser places are just as clean and the meals are just as good, and they're possibly a bit more laid back.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you have a great afternoon.